Hi, my name is Kelly Snyder, and I'm a personal trainer, and this is the ISSA Strength and Conditioning Certification. And today we're going to talk about powerlifting, and powerlifting includes 3 lifts, which are squat, bench press, and deadlift. And my video is going to focus on the squat portion. And the cycle that you're going to see is actually week 2, and it's going to be a 6-week cycle with the 7th week being a deload week. And you're going to also see that in the squat videos, we're going to do accessories. And the accessories help with preventing injury and to help keep everything in balance. And as we go into the first video, you're going to notice that the warm-up is doing the squat. We're going to start out at a lighter weight, and then we're going to work up. And in the program, we're basing our workout off 90% of your 1 rep max, which is going to allow you to work off repetitions versus trying to hit your 1 rep max at the end of each cycle. So let's go ahead and take a look at our video. Okay, so this is the warm-up, and you'll notice that I'm using a low rack position. And in the warm-up, this is again based off my 90% of my 1 rep max, so this is about 35%, and my next one will be about 55%, and then my last warm-up will be about 60%. You'll notice I'm using some knee sleeves. This is slightly different than knee wraps. These are actually allowed to be worn if you're a raw lifter, and all they do is kind of aid in giving a little bit of support as you start lifting heavier and heavier. And again, right here, I'm still in my warm-up phase, and this is about 55%. And during this week phase, this again is my week 2 of my 6-week program, and we're actually going to work up to, in the warm-ups, to 60%, and when I hit that 60%, I'm going to hit 3 reps. Right here, I'm just hitting 5 at my 55%, and you'll notice that I make sure that I hit depth every time, especially with warm-ups. It's really good for hip mobility, and as we get heavier, the tendency to not want to go that deep happens, so it's very important to train to try to keep hitting that depth every time, to know what that feels like, because in meets you don't have that mirror in front of you. You don't know how low you're going, so you have to have that feel for it. So here we're just going to go to 60% again of 90% of my 1 rep max, and I'm going to do this for 3, and that'll finish up my warm-ups. And each time you are lifting, this is kind of speeded up a little bit, but you'll notice that you want to take breaks in between your lifts, even your warm-ups. You want to recover from that pretty well, especially when you get into your working. It's going to be heavier, and you want to have that break. And the descent on every lift is super important. You want to make sure you control it on the down. You hit that bottom depth that you need to hit, and then you come back up. It's also important to note that we are only hitting our core lifts once every week. So we're only training at this heavy weight once in the week. And then like tomorrow would be maybe your bench day, and you would hit the accessories, and then you'd have a deadlift day, and then I also recommend an overhead press day. Just because you don't want to tax the central nervous system too much. You're training at a heavier weight, so that also increases your chances of getting hurt. So it's very important that you give your body that break and that you allow yourself to recover so you can train heavy again the following week. And this right here is actually getting into my working sets. So with our working sets, we're going to do, again, this is week 2, so we're going to do our 3x3s. This is 3 reps at 70% of my 90% max weight. And again, I'm coming up, resetting. It's very important to get what we call big air at the top, and you're going to hold that as you go down, and then on your way up, that's when you can recover and let that air out. And we're going to work right into our 80% which again, we're progressing to our heavier weight, and our final set of this is 3+ reps. So we're trying to get up there to 230 today, and this right here is 205. In most meets, you actually use kilograms, but most gyms don't supply you with those kind of plates. So you just kind of have to round and get what you can get close enough to what it would be in kilograms. So something else I'd like to point out is my shoes in this video. I don't recommend using a running shoe, which I'm doing. I actually recommend Converse or a powerlifting shoe, which actually puts a wedge in the shoe for your heel. I am a little bit an exception to the rule. For some reason, when I use those flat shoes or the shoes with a wedge, it actually causes me more knee pain. So I'm actually wearing running shoes here, but do not recommend it. You'll see that I'm actually using a belt. I'm starting to get to my heavier lifts. This is going to allow me to do a little more abdominal pressure to push back against, and it's going to allow me to be more stable. And these belts aren't comfortable all the time, so it's good to find a good placement where you can push back against it and allow you to take in that big air and push your belly against it as you go down. And again, this is 3 reps times 80% of my max weight. And again, I'm using the low bar placement. And big air at the top, push against that belt, and then you descend, making sure you hit parallel. Coming up quick every time, and then you walk right back into your racks. So let's talk a little bit more about the program that we're doing here. In week 1, for your working sets, you'd be doing 65 times 5 reps. Your second set would be 75 times 5. And then your final set would be 85 times 5+ reps, which means you're trying to get as many reps as you can. Week 2, which we're doing here, would be 3 times 70%, and your second set would be 3 times 80%, and then it would be 3 plus 90%, that's what I'm getting ready to do here. And what the plus does is allowing you to hit PRs by repetitions, through repetitions instead of 1 rep maxes. So 1 week you might do 230 for 5 reps, and then in the end of the next cycle you might hit 230 for 8 reps. So that shows that you've increased your strength. It's a little bit safer that way, and it's also a little bit easier on your body because you're not constantly training at that top 1 rep max. And here, again on week 3, which would be the week after this is where we do the 5-3-1. It would be 75% at 5 reps, 85 times 3 reps, and then 95% of your 1 rep max, which again is based off the 90% for 1+. So you're aiming to hit it at least 1 time and then as many times as you can. And then of course we would repeat that and increase our weights a little bit for 3 more weeks. And then in that 4th week we would hit a deload week, which would be 40% times 5 reps, 50% times 5 reps, and 60% times 5 reps. Now, anytime we are squatting, some things to watch for are your knees. As you go down and you're coming up, you want to try to make sure you're keeping your knees out, not letting them cave in. And we want to make sure we're looking straight ahead. You don't want to look down at the floor because that could cause you to lose your balance. But you also don't want to look up because that takes your spine out of alignment. So you just kind of want to look straight ahead and keep your feet and your knees forcing out. I always tell my clients to make it like they're splitting the floor. And here you'll see that I'm getting big air to push against my belt to help for support, especially when I'm getting tired. So we've completed our back squat portion of this program, and like I said earlier, it's very important to do accessories, and I'm just going to show you a couple accessories that I like to have my clients do. This one here is going to be the front squat, and this is going to focus a lot on quad strength and upper back strength and your core, which are all very important in powerlifting. I use a crossover for my holding positions, and for my accessories I always like to do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. With this, it's very important to make sure you're keeping your torso upright, that you're not allowing the weight to force you in a bent over position. And again, we would do 3 sets of 8 to 12, and that would all depend on where we were at and how we were feeling in the training process. So with these accessory lifts, the front squat, and I'm actually getting ready to do a pause squat, you're going to want to use 60 to 75% of your 1 rep max. This is going to give you a safe working weight, and you can progress up. So you can start at 60 and maybe do 8 reps or higher reps, and then progress into a heavier weight, maybe your 75%, and go with lower weights. Here with the pause squats, I actually like to do 5 sets of 3 reps. And I usually will use a little bit heavier weight. I just want to demonstrate. And we're going to go down, hold it for about a 3 or 4 count, and then you're pushing up out of it. This is going to help a lot with your posterior chain. And this will help you train through the sticking points. Most people in powerlifting in the squat attempts get stuck what's called in the hole. Another variation is the safety bar, which you see here, and you can perform squats with the safety bar. It's going to kind of push you forward there at the bottom, but this is just another variation of accessories that you can do. And if you're used to using a low rack position, this is going to feel a little bit different because it is higher on your back, and it's going to mimic that high rack position a little bit more. Okay, and here is another accessory that I really like to use for squats. It's walking lunges, and you can do walking or you can do back step lunges. I like doing walking forward lunges because it's going to put a little more emphasis on my quads, and it's going to give me a little more unilateral strength, and it's going to help with hip flexibility. And I like to work more on like back step lunges on like deadlift days and things that hit more of the posterior chain. Another option to this would be doing split squats. Okay, here we're going to work a little bit of the hamstrings, and this is a glute ham developer. Other options to this would be bar hip thrust or leg curls or good mornings. I'm just choosing to demonstrate this. You could also do this by holding a weight to increase the weight. And again, all accessories, I recommend doing 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. And finally, we're gonna finish off with leg extensions. And you wanna make sure your knees lined up with that marking. Most machines have that marking for your knee. And you wanna make sure that these are controlled. We don't wanna fly up and put extra tension on the knees. We're controlling them. Again, we're gonna do 3 sets of I usually do higher reps on these because it is an isolation movement, so usually 12 to 15. And you can see that there's other variations to this. You can actually single out one leg at a time and do them as single leg extensions. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you do your cool down and your stretches and foam rolling after you're done.